So we just had a question about the 5 precepts. Another kind of viewpoint we sometimes develop when we see our own faults. Sometimes you see the faults of others and look down on them or criticize them. But sometimes we do it to ourselves because we're aware of our own shortcomings. Of course we are, because we're with ourselves. So sometimes you break a precept, or maybe in the past you've broken the precepts, and when the memory comes up you feel guilty, self-critical, regret. But the Buddha encouraged us to turn it into something useful. Of course, that you would say that's the suffering of breaking the precepts. You don't feel very good, you don't feel proud of yourself, you feel self-aversion. But you turn it into something good by saying that's the suffering of breaking the precepts. And if I didn't break the precepts, if I was managed to train myself better, I wouldn't have to experience that suffering. You get the happiness of a mind free from regret. So you turn it around as a motivation to uphold the precepts better. You re-establish your commitment. You say, oh, today I lost my temper, there was a fly bothering me and I squashed it, I intentionally killed it. Okay, it happened. But you know what happened, you know you gave into your anger at that moment, you lost your compassion, you killed it, you feel, maybe afterwards you feel terrible. Or maybe you had an argument with your friend or colleague and you called them names and you said a lot of things, some of it was true, some of it was not true maybe. You lost it. Later you feel regret. But then you have to say, well, I'm going to re-establish my commitment to the precepts now. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to kill the fly. I'm not going to insult my friend or argue or speak coarsely to my friend. That's the way you train yourself. You re-establish or reaffirm your commitment to the precept, being honest and opened up, oh, that was wrongdoing, that was a mistake. And you get better at doing that. If you do that over and over again, after a while you won't break the precepts. Maybe you're in a situation where you're tempted to kill the fly, or you're tempted to call someone names. But because previously you've become aware of the suffering, the regret of having done that, you say, I don't want to say it. I'm going to regret it. If I say this, I'll regret it, so you don't say it. If I kill the fly, I'll regret it, so I won't kill it. I'll just have to endure it or flick it away or something. So gradually you upgrade and train yourself so that in the end the intention to kill or to insult or whatever it is doesn't even arise. That's the goal. You completely change yourself, and I can say it works because when I first went to Thailand, I lived in the jungle. I went straight from London, UK. London, UK, no mosquitoes, no centipedes, no scorpions, no cobras, no nothing. Just a lot of people, and some of those people weren't very good, but never mind, that's a different story. None of those creepy crawlies and poisonous things. And then I went into the jungle and it's like, mosquitoes, scorpion, So you've got temptation to kill coming up. You're like, what do I do? And literally you sit meditation at 4 a.m. in the morning, you look down at your bare shoulder and there could be 30 mosquitoes on it. It's like, what do I do? And they won't allow me to kill them. What am I going to do? If we were lucky, someone brought some repellent from Bangkok or overseas, but that didn't always happen, so maybe you didn't have any repellent. There's no nice fans to blow them away, no electricity, no windows. They come in and out at will. What do? You just sit there. At first you're angry. Oh, so many mosquitoes, I can't meditate. I travelled 10,000 kilometres just to get bitten alive by mosquitoes. Why am I so stupid? But then you start reflecting, where's my metta? Where's my compassion? And then what I did, I just looked at other monks who have been there longer than me. I thought, they can sit there and they don't look too bad, so maybe I should learn. So you learn, you become more patient, more kind, more tolerant, more forgiving. And what you notice with mosquitoes is that as you develop the more wholesome, skillful mental states, you're not so agitated, you don't sweat so much, you don't wriggle around so much, you just sit there peacefully, then the mosquitoes don't notice you. and they actually go away. So it's in your own interest not to get angry. Because if you're not angry, it's just the same with people. If you get angry with someone, they notice you. Oh, she's angry, he's angry. They don't like it. Maybe they start, acting differently because you're angry, and they can tell. Then maybe it's a form of attraction to you. You're angry, so I'm going to be on my guard, and I'm going to get you because you're angry. Some people say the best form of defense is attack first. So, oh, you're angry, okay, I'm going for you. Sometimes it's like that. If you then realize your mistake, I'm going to calm down, I'm going to let go of my anger, then whoever that person is, they stop noticing you, don't they? When you're not angry, you're just invisible, and that's good. So you have to change your way of behavior, and you can. So now I go to Thailand, or even in my own monastery, we have mosquitoes. It's not like I need to go to Thailand. We have mosquitoes. But if I go to Thailand where there's more mosquitoes, or here in Penang, quite a lot of mozzies if you're in the jungle, I don't even think of killing them. I don't have to sit there going, oh, don't kill them, don't kill them. I don't even think of it now, after 40 years as a monk. It's just not part of my thought. You're just like, okay, there's mosquitoes. The jungle has mosquitoes. That's to be expected. Put up with it, live with it. Of course, you can use things, you use repellent, or you go indoors or something, but the thought to kill never arises. The thought to steal never arises. Sometimes in our monastery in Melbourne, they come, I don't know what people are up to, but they leave their purse and their wallet full of credit cards and money, and they just leave it there and they go home. You're like, why did they do that? How do they get home? They even leave their car keys. I don't know how they get home. Because they take their car home, but they've left their car keys. I've got one set of Toyota car keys for like the last 2 years. I don't know whose they are. Where did they come from? But I never think of stealing. I just think, oh, can I give them back? Who do they belong to? You never think of stealing. It's out of my consciousness. There's no point. Why would I steal? I don't need it, and that would harm them, hurt them. Why would I do that? So your mind changes. And so I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm kind of living proof, like so many other monks are who've lived their life as a monk. You don't think of killing or stealing. It just doesn't come up. Maybe anger comes up, but it doesn't translate into that kind of action. Or lust, got running off with someone else's wife, or all the things you might think and maybe do in normal life, it doesn't happen anymore. It changes through the practice. That's the whole point. You train yourself and your mind changes for the better. And you just have to work at it and be very patient with these moods. And sometimes the regret, the sadness of seeing your faults and your mistakes motivates you to improve, because then you won't have to have that regret. So like maybe 2 years ago you said something or did something very horrible to somebody, maybe. But then you realise your mistake, now you don't do it. So today, if you haven't said or done that thing, you can be happy. Oh, today I kept the precepts. I'm sure most of you have kept the precepts more or less completely today. That's good. You can be happy about that. And really the Dhamma is to be practiced in the present moment. So we may have made mistakes in the past, hurt others, hurt ourselves in the past. We have to accept that, but you have to move on, don't you? You let it go. So today, just be happy. Did anyone murder anyone today? No murderers? Okay, so that's one good thing you've done today. You didn't murder anyone. You didn't steal, hopefully. That's how you can think, and you can be happy with what you've done today. And we should be, because sometimes we are very self-critical over so many things. A lot of it is to do with kind of greed, where we think we should be more successful in our job or our life, we should make more money, do this, do that. Often it's like that. But just step aside from that way of thinking for a moment and just think, well, what did you do today? And think of all the bad things you could have done that you didn't do. That's something to be happy about. That's something that we can all be happy about. That's why you can sit here now. We're all peaceful people, peace-loving, well-behaved people. That's something to be happy about, but often we forget. When people do get very sad and depressed, often they forget their own goodness. So there's one part of our practice, just remember the good things and the good of your life. You have to sometimes work at it, you think it through, and then you realise, yeah, I'm not as bad as I think maybe. Often we're too self-critical. Anyway, yeah?
Venerable Ajahn, when the Bodhisattva strive for enlightenment through his countless lives, someone mentioned that that strive is also a form of attachment. So what is your opinion, Pandit?
It's one of the good attachments. It is an attachment and it keeps him coming back. You know, why does the Bodhisattva get reborn again? Because he has an ultimate goal is to reach Buddhahood, to be self-enlightened. Because the Bodhisattva may well have reached the point where he could easily become enlightened. He's got sila, well-developed, samadhi, he's got right view, he's got wisdom. The Bodhisattva may well be at the point they could be enlightened, but they've chosen to practice until they're a Buddha. So that very vow, or we say adhitthana, it's a resolution that keeps them being born again. So you could say, yeah, it's an attachment, but it's a good one. It's out of compassion for all beings, made that goal. And if they are what we call a confirmed bodhisattva, in the presence of a Buddha, a living Buddha, the Buddha has said, this person will one day become a Buddha. After that, there's no turning back. But until that point, if they're not yet a confirmed bodhisattva, they're someone who maybe has been inspired to practice to be a Buddha, and maybe have been doing it for a long time and developed many great qualities and many great bharami, but they're not confirmed, then at any point there's still the chance they may say, no, I'll give up that resolution now, I will practice for enlightenment. And why can I say that is because Ajahn Mun, you've probably heard of Luang Por Mun, Ajahn Mun. That's how he described his own mind. He had previously had his goal, his mind was set on becoming a Buddha. So he had many great qualities, sila, samadhi, panya, great teacher, great insights, great psychic powers. His mind was very well developed. And then he had huge number of very well-trained disciples as well. So he had this previous aspiration to be a Buddha, but then he said, it's going to be a long time before I become a Buddha. There's a whole queue. Many bodhisattvas there, and there's many ahead of us in the queue, say. So he thought, maybe it's more useful for the world to have arahants now. So he abandoned that resolution, and we believe he became an arahant in this very life. And then he was able to teach Maggaphala Nibbana to many other people, so many of his students became arahants. So perhaps that was a wise decision. You know, the world needs arahants as well. So some bodhisattvas actually give up that aspiration, seeing a need for people to become enlightened right here, right now, in this life.
So may I conclude that attachment does have its advantage? Or
the good attachment, or the good side of it, as I said, like attachment to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, you might say, is a necessary attachment until you've gone beyond it. You know, the arahant doesn't need to attach to anything. But even an arahant, they still respect and revere the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, don't they? Like, I once asked Lungta Mahabua, I knew him, when you get enlightened, what next? When you're a young monk, you ask all these silly questions. You know, it's good fun, and if you know an arahant, it's like, oh, now's my chance. So that's what I did. I said, what do you do after you become enlightened? He said, oh, do you know what I did? He even gave the time of night. He got enlightened around 11 p.m. We know the place, Wat Doi Dhammachetti in northeast Thailand. He said, that was my enlightenment experience. And he described what happened and what led up to that. And then he said, after that, he spent the rest of the night bowing to the Buddha. He said, until dawn, he was just sitting there in awe of the Buddha, the bharami of the Buddha, his teacher, for having showed this way for any human being who's interested to follow to enlightenment. He was so in awe of the Buddha, he had tears flowing, and you might say, well, arrogant, how come they're crying? But these are tears of Dhamma, pity. And then he spent the rest of the night bowing in gratitude to the Buddha, his teacher. So even if you become enlightened, you still function while you're alive, and you can still have gratitude to the Buddha. You might say, well, isn't that an attachment, gratitude, or you're attached to the Buddha? It's not, it's just a natural response, reflecting back on who taught you and the immense service they've done you by teaching this way. So what I say is, there's attachment and there's an attachment. And there's the normal kind of attachment is leading to suffering, and it's to be abandoned, of course. But then as you're doing that, you attach to things, like we attach to the Vinaya. As monks, we have a whole discipline, lots of rules. Well, what did the Buddha say? He said, even when a monk becomes enlightenment, he shouldn't abandon the rules. Why? Because there's other generations of monks coming up, or nuns, and they have to practice, and they need good examples, they need the structure, they need this piece of the discipline that it provides. The Arahant doesn't really need the rules anymore, but they still hold on to them or upkeep them because it's useful for everyone. So an Arahant may still chant suttas or something, and you say, well, that's an attachment, they don't need to do that. Yeah, true, they don't really need to do it. But out of just the goodness of the Dhamma, we call it Dhamma enjoyment, or just kind of basking in the goodness of the Dhamma. An Arahant may still teach Dhamma, they may chant suttas, they may bow, they may keep the rules of the Vinaya, they lead people in doing good things. You could say none of that is necessary. True, they don't need any of it, but out of compassion they just do it because there's a need in the world, and so they lead the world. One of the things Ajahn Mahabua did after he was enlightened, when Thailand, 1997, the economy crashed, the value of the Thai baht disintegrated overnight and the economy was in big trouble. Lungta Mahabua, who had up until then stayed in the forest for decades, very private, he'd teach people around him, but he didn't go out doing a lot of social work, teaching work, did a little bit in his area. Suddenly he started a project helping the national treasury of the whole country. He went around raising funds to buy gold, and he was so popular, and his disciples trusted him. He became one of the world's how do they describe it? As a single person, he raised more funds than anyone else in the world. If you add up all the amount that he raised that was put into the national treasury to buy gold, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars over and over again. He did this for a number of years. I liked it, not so much for the gold, I liked it because he would come out and give talks and we could meet him and hear his talks. But he was at the same time raising funds. People would offer gold or money. It ended up like $1 billion or something. I can't remember the number. A massive number of dollars of gold was raised and put into the national treasury to help the country. And it worked, and he did it. It's like, this isn't a legend or just hearsay, this happened. It's amazing. So you say, what do Arahants do after they're Arahant? Well, that's one thing they do. They go around raising massive amount of gold for the national treasury to save the economy and give a lot of people a chance to make dana with an Arahant. That's just one example. So you could say, oh, that's an attachment, and people did. Some people doubted. They said, oh, why does he have to buy gold? That's an attachment. That's the wrong thing. And you understand why they might think that. But actually, his mind is not attached. He didn't keep any of it. He just gave it all away. I would follow him sometimes. He did that until he was, 96, 97. Maybe not 96, 97 going around the country so much, but when he was like 91, 92 he was. And I'd follow him sometimes with other monks, and we'd go around, and all these younger monks, like half his age, would be collapsing, oh, no energy, oh, so tired, falling asleep, struggling. He, the old man of 90-something, going around giving talks and teaching and raising all these money, he was unstoppable, amazing. So, if you see that, it's like, oh, this is what an arahant can do.